Let's go back on the phone and see how things are going this morning for Jennifer. Jennifer, good morning.
Good morning.
How are things going for you today?
Oh, I'm doing just fine. Thank you.
You're welcome. Jennifer Beals is in. You're going to have to explain to me the whole process here. It's not on TV as we know it, quite frankly. But this is a story about the military and rape that's going on. And more I've heard about this. The problem's much bigger than I think even what this show portrays it would seem. But it's about Lauren, who was a girl. Is this a true story?
It's not a true story in that it's not taken directly from a soldier, but I think that the story rings true for a lot of people.
It's kind of like putting a lot of things together where somebody is basically raped sexually in the military. Now we're finding out that's happening more and more. And the same way we find out suicides were way up in the military right now, too. And here's somebody in a kind of a composite story of reporting it to a commander. The commander says, you know, this is probably not a good idea. You're going to go under terrible scrutiny, and you're sure you want to go through with this. So that's kind of the story, I think, right?
Yes, in a nutshell. But the person that she's reporting it to is also a woman. So I think that she comes to her thinking that she'll have a sympathetic ear and finds that Major Stone, raises some serious concerns about her report. And whether or not she should go through with it.
And in raising the serious concerns, is she more concerned about Lauren and what happens to her, or about the military and what happens to them?
I think it's a combination. I think because Major Stone, which is the character that I play, is very old school, and so there's a concern, yes, for the soldier and what she will have to go through, and realizing that even if she does report the crime, even if the crime does go through due process, the likelihood of the soldiers who raped her being punished at all is very, very small, and that's based in fact. And
absolutely
go through perhaps the whole process of being re-victimized. And I think also the Major realizes she's in the middle of a war, and do they have does anybody want to make time for this? It's very complicated. It's a very complicated situation, which becomes less complicated when it's boiled down to what's right and what's wrong, and holding the military to a higher standard.
How do you study or prepare for a role like this?
Well, it's interesting because I had, a year ago, I had been looking into, the myriad experiences that women have being part of the military, and the subject of military sexual trauma just kept coming up. And so fortunately I had been, looking into the subject for quite some time and interviewing people, and so it was something that I was familiar with. But by and large, in the Wigs series, John will call you up and say, hey, do you want to come do a story? Do you want to come play pretend for the day? And you don't have a lot of time to prepare.
Yeah.
You just fly by the seat of your pants. But luckily I had
you're an actress, Jennifer. You're an actress.
And also, and her father is an ex-Marine, so
yeah.
So she had familiarity with.
All right. I'd seen somebody not long ago on TV tell this exact story, the same story in a way that you're telling right now, only it was real. I mean, she'd actually gone through it. She had been raped. She had tried to tell people about it. Nobody wanted to hear it. She finally got out, but she said it didn't go away. I mean, there were a lot of people knew about this, and it's like, we don't want to hear about it, and so on and so forth. So.
Oh, somebody in the military, you said?
Yeah. I mean, this is.
Yeah. No, and here's the interesting thing that I learned that surprised me anyway when I was studying it, was that the number of men that are raped in the military, of the 65,000 vets being treated for military sexual trauma, 40% of them are men, and that was surprising to me.
Yeah,
I wonder if it's like prison, where they don't think of it as
rape.
As that.
I can't imagine.
Well, I mean, what is rape is
No, I'm not. I'm talking about the guys who do that. I'm assuming it's male on male rape, and a lot of times in prison they don't think that they're gay when they do that. It's just because there's nobody else.
I don't think rape has anything to do with sexuality. I think it has everything to do with power and powerlessness.
Yeah.
And I think in in the military, there's this sort of implosion of violence. You're having people being redeployed, and you've trained them to defend themselves and the people in their unit, and that means that they have to be ready to kill someone, and so you're asking them to walk this sort of fine balance between love and loyalty and the possibility of violence. And I think that takes an incredible amount of discipline and self-awareness for it not to implode.
For a lot of people, it's almost impossible to do. And we've seen people come back from the military and open fire in a church in Wisconsin. And I mean, people that if you train somebody to fight and kill people, there's going to be a chance that it may backfire on you down the road somewhere. The same way with being in a confined atmosphere where sex is not available to you in the normal channels of like a wife or a girlfriend. Maybe you'll do something you shouldn't, but that's got to be a tough situation to deal with. Anyway,
I don't even know if rape is about sex per se. I really don't. I think it's really about
power.
I think it's really about power.
Okay. Most cases they say rape has nothing to do with sex. It has to do with power. Okay. Where do they see this? How do they watch this if they want to?
You go online to YouTube, and it's a YouTube channel called Wigs, and the episode is called Lauren.
And you can watch it anytime this way. There's no set time at all. You can watch it over and over again.
Yes.
How did they get you to do this? I mean, the first time they came to you and said this will be on YouTube and so on and so forth, did you think, wait a minute, this isn't going to do me much good here?
Well, I've never been utilitarian in that way for work. I really have based everything on the writing and very rarely on a mortgage payment.
Yeah.
So, luckily.
Is that because you have enough for a mortgage payment?
Pardon me?
Is that because you have enough for a mortgage payment?
No, it's because I could live in a tent or the Four Seasons. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Either one is fine.
Okay.
All right. I question that, Jennifer. In fact, I'm going to challenge you to come here, and I will either
live in a tent or the Four Seasons. Yeah.
Listen, I just came from a camping trip in the Canadian Rockies where I was swimming across as many Canadian lakes as I could. So I challenge you to go camping with me.
I'll do that. I'm talking.
Okay, you've already got two people here who will even go camping with you right now. Not a problem. I've gone camping a number of times, including on mountaintops and so on and so on.
I've been in a tent before.
Chip thinks camping is an RV.
Really better than the Four Seasons, apart from the bedding.
Jennifer, I'm sorry.
Jennifer.
Let me just say, it's nice to say I went camping and I loved it and it's great and I do and I've been there and I've done that. But I also like to know that if I'm not on that camping trip, living somewhere in a tent, I can go and stay at the Four Seasons.
Yes, that's always nice to have.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of tough to sit at the tent bar and have a nice nightcap.
I'll tell you what, I've been in a tent where I lived in Africa with a tent going through Africa one time, and we actually had great wines and some fine food, and there's a lot of ways to do tents. There's some pretty luxurious tents out there,
I'll
right?
take a suite, though, at the Ritz.
I will,
Thank
too.
you.
I'd like the suite. All right. Anyway, that's what it's all about. Jennifer is, are you doing any movies right now, or are you seeing you anywhere else?
I'm doing a couple movies. I have one at the end of September and one that I'm producing and acting in that we're casting right now, and another show that I've developed that I'm in negotiations for right now.
Good for you. You're busy.
Thank you. Doing my best.
You went away for a while. You left us.
When?
Where'd she go?
Kind of after Flashdance came along, and suddenly you were hot, and everybody knew who you were, and here she
I went
was.
to college.
You went to Yale. Yeah. But there was some talk that you went away a little bit because the brouhaha about your dancing and it wasn't you and it was somebody else.
I was at college when I got cast in the film.
Yeah.
And so...
You stayed in school. Right.
I stayed in school.
Is that where you got to know David Duchovny?
Yes, actually.
I thought it was interesting, the story about David wanted you to be in X-Files. He was in favor of you being that part in X-Files. And it's always amazing the what if, either or, and what if instead of Jillian they'd have chosen you and you'd have been the girl in X-Files, and how different life might be now for you after that, as a matter of fact.
There's all kinds of things. There's all kinds of what ifs. What if you turned left instead of turning right on that street where there was the accident?
Do you regret turning down anything while you were in college? Because apparently you turned down St. Elmo's Fire as well, did you not?
Yes, I did.
Because you decided to stay in college. I'd have a hard time going, I have a chance to be in a big movie, but I'm going to stay here at college.
I'm in Yale also, though. I mean, that's part of it. You were going to Yale.
Well, I loved school. I was one of those weird people that liked taking tests, and I liked reading, and I liked...
Living in tents.
Yeah, living in.
All right, we're finding out a lot about you today.
The sticky floor of the dorm and all the beer.
Yeah.
Okay, I would have rather taken a tent than the dorm.
Yeah, me too. All right. And I also like the Algonquin story.
Which story is that?
The story, the movie you were in, of the old round table.
Oh, yes. Uh-huh.
Have you ever
Parker in the Vicious Circle?
Have you ever been to that hotel and gone to that bar where they had those wonderful get-togethers? That was one of my favorite visits. I just love that place.
It is. It's an amazing hotel.
It really is. Well, anyway, watch it. Jennifer has got some other movies coming out. Anything we can name immediately that'll be out?
No, because they're all in production right now.
All right, they're all in production. I'm glad things are going well for you. Good luck with everything.
Thank you so much.
We didn't get to mention the L word, but I'm sure that a lot of people were familiar with your part also in the L word, which was a pretty interesting series also on Showtime. All right, you have a great day. Thanks for talking to us.
You too.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.